Yeah.
Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Okay, my name is Bob. This is my co-host, Billy. And today we're going to be talking about Japan and the Japanese. We have a cultural expert, a geological expert, an economic expert, and a governmental expert. Billy, are you okay? I want to sit up a little. There you go. First coming in will be our
demographics expert,
economical expert, Isaac John, Isaac Cocoon. Andrew will be interviewing him because I have to go take my dog out. Billy will be interviewing him because I have to go take my dog out.
Why do you
I have to go take care of my dog. Baxter, no!
So what are demographics?
Demographics are the statistics and data relating to population and groups within a certain region or country.
Is Japan one of the most populous countries?
Yes, it is indeed. Japan is the 10th most populous country with about 126.8 million people living within it.
Wow. So what will Japan's population look like in the future?
It seems that Japan's population will go down by about 0.15% each year.
What is the population in Japan's largest cities?
Well, you see, Tokyo is by far the largest, with about 37 million people living within it, while other large ones have about 2 million people living within each one.
Now, you're something of an economics expert, too.
I would consider myself an economic expert. Yes, I would.
What is the main source of income for Japan?
You see, Japan's main income starts with services, with covering about 70% of their economy, and then industry with about 25%, and agriculture with a measly 1%.
How is Japan's economy doing?
Japan's economy is one of the biggest in the world. It also has the highest debt. That's a little bit of karma, if you ask me.
What kind of economic system does Japan have?
Japan's economic system can be described as a collective capitalism system that operates as a free market economy.
What is a collective capitalist system?
Well, you see, a collective capitalist system, it's governed strictly by the forces of supply and demand. There's no governmental influence.
What is a free market economy?
Oh, I don't have to go into that.
You don't?
No. Oh crap! That's the free one.
What is a free market economy?
You see, a free market economy is one that is governed strictly by the forces of supply and demand. There's no governmental influence with it.
Wow. Well, I think Bob is interviewing some random person, so,
Thank you, Billy. And we're... Oh, it is recording. Okay. And we're back. I had an emergency surgery, and they had to transplant my mustache to my forehead. Very painful. Now, if I could please call in my geographical expert, Shmiya Chowdhury. Shmiya? Thank you for joining us today. Okay, I just now realized that she's actually a cultural expert. My bad. So Shmiya, what is the most spoken language in Japan?
Japanese is the most spoken language in Japan. About 128 million people speak Japanese.
How did the Japanese language come about?
Not much is known about the prehistory of the Japanese language, or when it first appeared in Japan. Chinese documents from the 3rd century recorded a few Japanese words, but substantial text didn't appear until the 8th century.
What would you say has changed the most about Japanese language?
Following the end in 1853 of Japan's self-imposed isolation, the flow of borrowing words from the European languages has increased significantly.
What would you say has changed the most about the Japanese language?
Following the end in 1853 of Japan's self-imposed isolation, The flow of borrowing words from the European language has increased significantly. English loan words have become frequent, and Japanese words from English roots have multiplied.
Let's move on to religion. What are the main religions in Japan?
There are two main religions in Japan, Shintoism and Buddhism. 70.4% of Japan's population are Shinto, and 69.8% are Buddhist.
That is very interesting. How is it possible that 140.2% of the population is either Buddhist or Shinto?
It's possible for the Japanese person to be both Shinto and Buddhist. The religions don't have any contradicting information, and they have existed harmoniously for almost 1,500 years.
What are the basic beliefs of Shintoism?
Shintoism focuses on the belief that spiritual powers manifest in natural places such as mountains, rivers, and other aspects of nature, including people and animals. This means that Shinto can worship mountains, stones, etc.
What are the basic beliefs of Buddhism?
Well, Buddhism has four basic doctrines. Existence is suffering. Suffering has a cause. There is an
Speak
end
up.
to...
That was good.
What are the basic beliefs of Buddhism?
Well, Buddhism has four basic doctrines. Existence is suffering. Suffering has a cause. There is an end to suffering, which is known as nirvana, and there is a path to the end of suffering.
Let's move on to the ethnicity of Japan. What are the main races in Japan?
There are four main ethnic groups: the Yamato Japanese, Ryukyuan Japanese, Chinese, and the Ainu.
Can you tell me some more about the Yamato Japanese?
Sure, there are
What's in the name of Jesus? Can you tell me some more about the Yamato Japanese?
Sure, there are 123.9 million Yamato people, which makes up 98% of Japan's population. The Yamato Japanese are the descendants of people assumed to have followed the first emperor when he led them to the Yamato plain.
What about the Ryukyuan Japanese?
There are approximately 1.3 million Ryukyuan Japanese living in Japan. They are people from Ryukyuan Islands and that stretch from the island of Kyushu and all the way to Taiwan.
Do you have any information on the Chinese people living in Japan?
There are around 6,500,000 Chinese people living in Japan, which makes up 0.4% of the total population. The Chinese people living in Japan developed from the Chinese immigrants that were thought to come from Japan around 2,300 years ago from the Chinese and Korean peninsula. During 1314 to 1429 in Okinawa, Chinese were known to migrate to Japan to serve as royal advisors for the Ryukyuan kings. Many Chinese students came to Japan to study in universities that were cheaper and closer to their homelands in 1912 to 1926 in Tokyo.
What can you tell me about the Ainu population? Cut. What can you tell me about the Ainu population?
There are 65,000 Ainu people living in the islands of Hokkaido and the Kuril Islands and the Russian island of Sakhalin.
And we are back. Shmiya just left the studio. She is going to Japan.
Her home.
And yes, her home. And now we are introducing our geographical expert, Shmaden. Thank you for coming in, Shmaden. Yes.
Yay! Ooh.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of Japan's geographical boundaries. What are some of Japan's geographical boundaries?
Japan is surrounded by water, and the only way to connect with other countries physically is through ship or plane.
What is Japan's geological formation?
Japan is an archipelago of 6,852 islands.
What are some of the largest islands, and how much of the population do they make up?
Japan's three largest islands are Honshu, Hokkaido, and Shikoku, and they make up 97% of its population.
Tongue twister. Where are most of Japan's major cities located?
Most of Japan's larger cities are located along the coastline. For example, Tokyo is located along the east coast of Honshu.
Are there any hazards to building cities along the coast?
Yes, more earthquakes occur along coastlines than anywhere else. This has caused many innovations in building design to minimize the effects of earthquakes.
What can you tell us about urbanization growth in Japan?
Since 2007, the amount of urban islands in Japan has grown 3.14%, reaching a total of 91.54%.
Okay, thank you for coming in, Schmaden. We will talk to you later.
So we can't see you.
No, you need to take that
Well,
out of
as you can see, the doctor said that can only save my head and my arms. Anyway, our next guest is an expert on something. Government. His name is Shmo Wilder.
Hey there, everybody.
So does Japan have a monarchy?
Japan has a constitutional monarchy, where the emperor is mainly ceremonial. There are three branches of government: executive, judicial, and legislative.
How is the prime minister nominated?
The prime minister is nominated by the legislature to serve 4 years. He supervises the executive branch and is the head of self-defense forces.
What does the judicial branch consist of?
The judiciary branch is made up of the Supreme Court, the higher courts, the district courts, the family courts, the summary courts, and the emperor appoints chief justice, and cabinet appoints other justices.
So what is the legislative branch of Japan, and what does it do?
Legislative is the national diet, made up of the House of Representatives and House of Councilors. Functions include drafting laws, approving the national budget, approving conclusion of treaties, and selecting a prime minister. That is all we have today, folks. I will see you later. Bye. As you can see here, Billy's condition has gotten worse. He only has a week to He only has 1 week to live before he dies and is sent straight to hell. That is not important. Now we close off the talk show, Big Facts, with the national anthem. Oh, sing, can you sing by the dawn? This is the Lutheran.
What's the population of Japan's largest cities?
That's not a question I had to answer. Oh, wait.
Okay,
Plus.
cut. 3.
So what will...
Okay, what would you say has changed the most about the Japanese language?
Following the end in 1853 of Japan's self-imposed isolation, the flow of borrowing words from the Europe...
What would you say has changed the most about the Japanese language?
Following the end in 1853 of Japan's self-imposed isolation, the...
What would you say has changed the most about the Japanese language?
Following the end in 1853 of Japan's self-imposed isolation, the flow of borrowing words from the European...
Oh my God! Guys, can you tell me some more about the Yamato Japanese?
Sure, there are 123.9 million Yamato people, which makes up 98% of the Japanese...
Japanese.
Can you tell me some more about the Yamato Japanese?
Yes! That's what you want to do. No. Okay. You guys ready?
No.
Can you tell me some more about the Yamato
I
Japanese?
haven't even started. I haven't even started. All right, 3, 2, 1.